Great. Okay. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get the Kingsburg Public Safety Committee regular meeting started, dated Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 at 4 o'clock. And we'll call this meeting to order. Ooh, excuse me. We'll call this meeting to order. First on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, any? All right, motion carries. Presentations and informational reports, we have none tonight. So we'll move along to public comment. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to address the committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to the regular calendar. Item 1 on the regular calendar is to approve the minutes for 2011-25 and the 11-12-24 public for the 11-12-24 Public Safety Committee meeting. Do I have someone that will a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
So moved. And a second. Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Agenda item 2, police request for funds / drone project. And that will be sponsor Member Sheeling. So I'll hand the floor over to Member Sheeling.
Thank you. Well, in discussions with the police department, I was very fortunate to be able to speak to Lieutenant Salinas about 2 weeks ago, and he told me about the upcoming drone project that they're involved with, along with former Officer Kevin Penley, who's heading up a wider range drone project. So they obviously are in a situation where funds are needed for their project, and I told him that that's precisely what we do as a public safety committee. So I invited him and Officer Kroger to come to speak to us this afternoon about their drone project, to tell us what it encompasses and costs and purposes and all that. So I would open the microphone to Officer Brent Kroger.
Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, you can just cancel that real quick. So we're in the early stages of development right now. Myself and 2 other officers went to a drone class at the police academy, where they're funding everything, where they're teaching everybody how to use drones. It's a new technology a lot of agencies are using. First of all, we learned to fly the drones, kind of capabilities, what to do. We still have to go take a 107 FAA license test to become certified pilots to fly these drones. So I put together a short PowerPoint with some videos at the end to show the capabilities of the drone and how we would use them and how they're currently being used in the field. So this would be the Kingsburg Police Department Unmanned Aerial Support Unit, aka Drone Unit. So in this unit, operators must obtain an FAA Part 107 license. That's a federal requirement. It allows us to operate this drone commercially. Anything over, I think it's 32 or 28 ounces, you have to have a commercial license, especially if you're using it for a law enforcement usage. The unmanned aerial system is going to be under the patrol division chain of command. It would start with Lieutenant Salinas, and then I'd be heading up at the sergeant level, and then we'd have 2 patrol officers and more as needed. We can add drones and add bodies as needed, and it would just be really the cost of the equipment. Perception versus reality. Sometimes the public and what you see on TV, everybody's flying Reaper drones and we're here to spy on you and we're going to hurt everybody and blow things up, and that's not what it is. The reality of it is it's a small handheld device, about 2 to 3 pounds, very mobile. There's inside drones, outside drones, and that right there is a picture of an old Matrice, and that's what we're looking at acquiring. Public fears. We want to be prepared in future presentations to address public concern, recognize the role community trust plays in the implementation of this program so it can be effective. We don't want it to be such a scary endeavor that the public doesn't like it and we have to cancel this program. I think it's the future for law enforcement, and it helps save lives and protects the community. What we're using the drone for is really situational awareness and to improve our jobs whether it's entering a building, overwatch, and just everyday patrol. It's not going to be used for random surveillance, proactive enforcement, and targeting people based on race, gender, religion, and for personal business. This is strictly as needed. Federal laws, the Supreme Court has considered the constitutionality of all aerial surveillance in 3 court cases since the 1980s, Florida versus Riley, the Dow Chemical United States, and California versus Cirallo. A lot of these had to do with the Fourth Amendment obtrusions, and the Supreme Court ruled that it was not a violation of the Fourth Amendment to use a drone and the surveillance of that in these cases. And so that's what we would abide our policies and procedures with moving forward. State laws in California, this AB 2655, the law prohibits first responders from taking pictures of crime scenes without valid reason. This includes any type of photography, including the use of drones. Like I said, we have to have a reason to use this. We're not just flying around backyards and taking pictures to put on social media. It would be to aid investigations and for further evidence collection. AB 856, this law prohibits entering airspace of an individual in order to capture an image of recordings of that individual engaged in a private, personal, or family activity without permission. This legislation is in response to the use of UASs by press covering celebrities and public figures. That also applies to the normal public. So we're not flying around looking for crime like the Minority Report, seeing if you're going to do something wrong in your backyard. That's not what we're going to be using the drones for. SB 807, this law prohibits or provides immunity for first responders who damage drones that were interfering with first responders while he or she was protecting emergency services. So if you have some member of the public or something else using a drone that's interfering with our business, we have the authority to use action against that. So just some state laws to govern what we're going to be doing in our program. We're looking at 2 drones. The DJI Matrice 4 thermal. That's the newest, latest, greatest compact drone that law enforcement is using. There's a 3 version out now. It's being phased out. Think of it like an iPhone. The next year, new technologies. This now has AI capabilities, and that would be the bread and butter of the patrol fleet. The Avata 2 is a smaller, compact indoor drone. As you can see, it has bumpers around the system, and what that's used for is when you're flying in an internal setting, you can actually bump up against walls, or if I was flying it between you guys here, it allows it a more stable flight, and it's a more compact design. You can't do that with the bigger drone, just the way the air surrounds around the unit. So there's a need to have 2 separate drones, interior and exterior. A speaker system is $8,500. I got that quote from our supplier back in February with the so I don't have a current today quote because right now they can't even get one right now. They're waiting for everything to go through. It weighs 2.6 pounds. It's a max speed of 46 miles an hour. Distance is 15 miles, so in a city like ours, you can throw it up to 300 feet and almost view the whole city for an overwatch situation. Flight time is about 45 minutes. This new unit has a laser rangefinder, and it's really effective to about 1,200 yards. Max distance is 1,908 yards. And put that in perspective, you can read a license plate from 1,000 yards away with this new unit. We did a recent demo 2 months ago. Has digital 16x zoom and then a hybrid zoom, so that's involving other software systems. So it's a really crisp system. Pros: it's quick to deploy, the zoom capabilities, and really the thermal capabilities. A lot of times we work at night or in low light. Even during the day, if a suspect's hiding in a folded situation, you can still pick out their heat signature, and so that would be really advantageous for us. Cons: the flight time of the batteries. That's the downside of all these drones. They're about 45 minutes. The old ones were 30. And what that means is the pilot has to now down the drone, do a hot swap on the batteries, and put it back into service. So you're going to lose about 15 minutes coming back, but with a charger in the car and with a supply of batteries, you can be up in the air almost indefinitely all day. The Avata 2, that's the smaller drone, indoor drone. It costs about $2,000, weighs less than a pound. Max speed is 35 miles an hour. Distance is 8. Flight time is about 23 minutes. And it has a 12 megapixel camera. The cool features of this drone is it has the wide and extra wide angle, so that's that up close when you're searching a building, searching a room, searching a vehicle. You really get that real close panoramic view. Again, it's quick to deploy, very maneuverable in internal spaces. The small compact size is what we're looking for. Again, the cons is just the flight time of the batteries. So the company that we're going to be working with for about $500 a year, and this is a separate cost here. We're not asking for this. We're really trying to get the money for the drones at this point. Just to put in perspective, this is a live feed that this company offers. So for a command situation, if we have a search warrant or a big critical incident, chief, lieutenants, and the command post can sit back in safety and watch live stream what's going on, what the drone sees, what we see, and what's going on. Pros, the ability to view events live from any location with internet access with a secure login and password. The cons, it does require internet access, so there might be an area where we might not have really good service. It takes enough data to upload. Clovis PD, I know Fresno Sheriff's Department, Fresno PD, they're all using something very similar, and some of them even started out with this responder cast setup, and they're having very good luck. Even up in the mountains, they're using cell phones with Wi-Fi data spots, and they're not having any issues. And they've even flown it into one of the caves, I think, up at Courtright, and they were able to complete their mission before the live stream went out. I want to give you a quick shot. This is an actual case the Sheriff's Department used. The background in it, it was a suspect that was breaking into a bunch of buildings and cars. This is the thermal capabilities of this camera. There's no sound on these, but just to give you perspective on how clear it is, the drone's about 200 feet in elevation. This is off of Golden State. There's also different temperatures that you can select and filter through. Right, this is in the flare mode, so this is going to be your black and white and your heat signature. It's better used at night. So the technique here is they're just putting it up as an overwatch to kind of eyes in the sky as deputies respond and start searching for it. And then I cut this video down. It was way too long to sit here and watch all day, but a deputy will roll in momentarily, and you'll get to see what that looks like. And then a suspect actually leg bails at some point, and they find him near the train tracks, and they're able to apprehend him. And they wouldn't have been able to if they didn't have this type of technology. Here comes the deputy rolling in, searches around for a minute. So here you can see the suspect laying out in the field, prone out, hiding in some shrubs. Responding deputies are looking for him. The drone operator is in communication with responding deputies, walking them in, making it safe to do so. So you get a pretty good clear picture for a couple hundred feet in the air. And here comes the good guys grabbing the bad guy. So potentially this could be live streamed also. And we can also use this footage as the case goes through the courts for evidence too. That's the thermal capabilities. The new drone I talked about has a new device with AI technology. It's called active tracking. It'll actually lock in and distinguish the difference between persons, vehicles, and vessels. So when it goes up in the sky, it sits there and reads all this data, and it puts points out just like you'd see in these modern movies. That's a person, and it counts them in its view. There might be 20 people, 4 cars, 1 vessel, and it's able to distinguish the difference between them, and you can also set them and track. So if you want that one red car, or that one suspect that's leg bailing through the orchard, you can track that, and now it allows the drone operator, because there's a lot of controls going on, and you're also having to man the radio, and when you're manning the drone, it's hard to get that information to responding officers. So what this allows it to do is it tracks on whatever you set it to track, and it actually kind of takes over the drone a little bit and zooms in, zooms out, and puts it in orbit. So here's a quick video, a short video on what that would look like. Excuse me, if we can we go back?
Just press the arrow back, I think.
I'm not sure why that's not working. see if we can get back to that one. 2 years ago, we had a suspect. It was the backstory on this. It was a DV situation. Barricaded himself in the house, and he put a gun to the girlfriend's head and basically told her he was going to execute her. She was able to escape at some point, contacted neighbors, contacted us. We sat on the house, started getting other units available. A friend of mine, newly in the sheriff's department drone unit, responded. We ended up cornering this guy in an alley. We used the drone to talk to him through the window because he didn't want to exit. He's blocked in from both sides, and we were able to eventually safely extract this gentleman from the vehicle with no incidents. So he's talking to us, giving us commands, and we are staged at either end behind patrol cars and, with guns and rifles out at this point. And the rumor was he had a gun with him in the car, but with the drone right overhead, with its red and blue lights flashing at him with a siren and yelling at him, he's able to keep his hands up, and we can clearly see that. It would have been a lot riskier situation if we didn't have eyes on before. Another type of call is, this is where the Avada 2 comes into play. This is an interior search. Backstory in this is in the city of Clovis. Subject had a shootout with police. You can see bullet holes in the right side of the door frame. Before the SWAT team and responders wanted to enter, they wanted to clear the building to protect any further incident to life and property. So they flew the indoor drone inside to kind of check to see if the guy's still there. If not, he ended up committing suicide. This really shows how delicate, you can see the airframe on the left, how delicate this drone is and how secure it is when it's going inside a residence. Sorry. Sorry, guys. That was already in the video. So suspect ended up committing suicide. So responding units were able to clearly see he's deceased and the weapon involved and able to secure the scene before anybody else entered the building. And this could happen on a critical incident or even just to check the welfare. You know, if we feel that there's a heightened raised concern, we can send a drone in before and check. So this is where I think our bread and butter is going to be with the outdoor drone, is more of an overwatch, eyes in the sky. When we get up on scene, this can cover more ground and see more things that we can see. Backstory, this was a leg bail of a suspect. He was a wanted felon, and he was running through orchards and orchards. And to be able to cover that kind of ground, you need multiple bodies. With us, sometimes there's a sergeant and 2 officers on, or maybe 1. Be able to put an eye up and watch him and coordinate ground units, whether it's with allied agency, sheriff's department. Watch the suspect. In a minute, you'll see they'll deploy a dog, and the fight's over. And here comes the SWAT team coming in, and they apprehend the suspect. But just so you guys can see how clear everything is, too, and then the capabilities of the zoom. Search warrants, we conduct those fairly regularly. We can do them pre-deployment to check an area. Sometimes we can get better photos with a drone. Suspect might not even be keen to us checking the property, where right now we have to look at Google Map, kind of make our plan, or we have to drive by with a video camera, and we get a layout of the neighborhood, layout of the target. This way we can fly the drone, look at all different angles, and we can have it up while we're conducting that search warrant. I apologize. some reason, those two videos didn't want to work today. Give it one more shot. There we go. So they're calling the suspect out. He's actually holding a dog. It's not a baby or a person. But again, this is great in court. If the suspect says that we did something that we didn't do, it's clearly videotaped, and that's kind of a new standard in law enforcement. We're videotaping everything with our body cams. Now we can actually videotape the whole scene. So those are some different areas that we could use the drone. I mean, really, the sky's the limit at that point. You can use them for all kinds of different things. We could even have demos. We can use them at school events, downtown events. I mean, whatever we find that need for, it's definitely a tool for the future. So at this point, if you guys have any questions, I can try to answer. But at this point, if you guys do have leftover funds, we would greatly appreciate anything that you guys could provide to us.
Sergeant, I have a few questions.
Yes, sir.
Logistical in nature, so please bear with me. You mentioned the pilot and support team. You also mentioned there were one of 7 certifications. Is that a series of 7 different ones, or is this 7 different offerings of the same certificate?
It's called a Part 107. It's just one test. It's no different than getting a pilot's license for an actual plane. You study for it. You go down to the FAA. They have a secure location. You go in there and take a test, and you're certified, similar to like you would your driver's license. That allows you to be a drone operator, unmanned aerial unit operator. There is a fee for that. I believe it's under $200 for the fee. And then there is a requirement for continued training and a recert after a couple years.
Okay. And then because this can be used day or night.
Correct.
I'm assuming that you would have more than one team certified, so that if you, for example, were the pilot and you're off and it's required at night or some other shift, there's another team that is able to deploy?
Yeah, so how we're thinking about deployment now is if we just had one drone, the Matrice 4, we would keep it at the station, and it would come in a big armored box with batteries and all the logistics, contained in that box. Right now we're gonna have 3 pilots. So currently, right now, I work the weekends. On the weekends, I throw my patrol car. Then day shift, we have a detective that went to the class with me. At whatever time, he could just grab it or keep it and check it out that day, and it would just stay with him, and then turn it in at the end of the night. We would just recycle that drone 24/7. If we had the capabilities of another drone, then yes, the other operator could have one, and it would just leapfrog through there.
What's the lifespan of this review?
So that's the advantage of getting the new version, about 5 years. Right now, the old ones are phasing out. They're not making them. They have a limited supply of parts, and the technology is getting older. So it's about a 5-year lifespan, and then you would want to rotate into a new drone. You can still keep it and still use it, provided the parts are still good. Right now, the parts and the cost to fix them are very cheap. They're plastic parts. They do provide a service that I want to say it was another $200. It was a 2-year service program. If you did damage a drone and break it, you send it in. They'll either refurbish it. If they don't have a drone already, they can send you. And then what they do is they take that refurbished drone and sell it back to whoever's interested in buying it. So it's part of your trade-in policy.
Because technology is constantly changing, are firmware and software updates included in the purchase price?
They are. So when you log on when you turn on the drone every time, the heart and brains of the drone is actually the controller. The drone is just the device. So it syncs up like your computer and gets your firmwares, your updates, and all that stuff. So what you want to do, your pre-flight inspection, is sitting down and opening up that controller to connect to a Wi-Fi, internet service, and download all that new stuff before you even fly that day. So we also need to implement a training protocol, and that's one thing we're working on too. I've been trained on a little bit, is having, we have to track all our training to make sure these guys are meeting the requirements for their 107 part license. So there are standardized trainings we do. We're actually partnering with the Sheriff's Department once a month and training with their unit and other allied agencies training together. So this is all-encompassing. Law enforcement is coming up with this new technology, and we're all working together. And it could be something too where it's all the same devices, similar controllers, and we're all on the same pretty much platform. And this is, DJI is, they're cornered the market on these drones, and they're all coming from China, but it is the best thing out there. The American drones don't compete at all. Most law enforcement agencies are using this DJI platform, so we're all familiar with it. I could take another agency's drone and fly it tomorrow if I needed to. So if I needed a call out, I need another drone. Mine's up in the sky, and I know I got 10 minutes left in my battery. I can radio someone from Sheriff's Department. And they can get here, put another drone up, I bring mine back, hot swap my battery, and now we can just leapfrog, and we can go as long as this call takes.
And the data, is it stored on the drone itself, or is it transmitted from the drone to the controller?
It's to the controller, but it actually goes into a cloud secure device.
What's the cost of the cloud service?
That I don't have a cost. You can do it internally in hard drives, but we'd have to sit with the vendor and see how much they're going to charge for some of that. You're welcome. Those are all things we're working out right now. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. That is going to be part of it. So there's also a tracking. It's a different subscription. That was just a subscription for the live stream, and that's something we would get free for a year. The tracking is something different, and they're actually, it's Gentech is the manufacturer, or I'm sorry, the supplier of these. They're actually creating their own tracking system. Right now, the Sheriff's Department, when they started, they were doing it all in Excel, making your own Excel sheets, tracking hours, logs, battery time, life equipment for the units, something like you depreciate a vehicle with. They've created their own system for law enforcement. You can subscribe to Air Data, which is an actual company that services law enforcement and contractors for drones for all their tracking. Super expensive per individual. So Gentech, now that they've gotten into the market of law enforcement, they said cops only need X, Y, Z. So they're building their own platform. So that's something in the works that we could piggyback off them, buy one subscription because we have one drone per the license of that drone. Multiple people could use it. You just couldn't use two at the same time. And right now, if we just had one drone, it wouldn't matter to us. Even if we got a second drone, if we had another license, we could just work with them and add that on. So that's something that we're in the workings with Gentech.
Wondering if there's like a subscription for the body cam footage and the storage of that and all that. Do any of the bigger sheriff's departments or other bigger departments, are they doing their body cam footage and their drone footage with the same people?
No, completely separate. They're using Air Data, which is it's a proprietary company that just is all data storage. Super expensive. But the way they deploy is they have, I think, 8 or 9 officers, and each one of them get a drone to take home. It would be the same size as that 4T that we're looking at. They have the older 3T models, but the quote I got is the same one they're getting for the 4T. So they need one per person. We just need it for the one drone right now, so we're going to hot swap the drone.
Is there a possibility for an interagency purchase on a larger scale?
I'm not sure. We're all working with the same supplier, so the prices are they're the same. It's something we could definitely talk about.
Does the fire department here in Kingsburg use drones?
Not that I'm aware of. So with that, they would have to have their own drone licensing. That's something that we could use as a call out. If we needed to support them, we could use it for Overwatch. And that technology is amazing to see hotspots in a building. Like I said, there's different temperatures, and it shows the purples, the reds, and so the different variants of the heat coming out from the building. That drone is made for that, and they even put them on towers and for firefighters too. So yes, that would be a call-out need for sure.
I think our building department's the only department that uses drones currently.
He is. And he's using a Mavic 3, which is the older version of this one that we're looking at, but it doesn't have thermal capabilities. And I worked with AJ a lot, and I was out with him when he was doing a roof inspection. He's doing the same thing. You can get down, you can see every nut and bolt, so he doesn't have to get up on a ladder anymore, and he can actually see and take pictures of everything that he's inspecting. So we'd be using it in a similar fashion. Any other questions that I can try to answer?
Further committee comment?
Do you have any idea what your timeline is when you think you may put this into service?
If we could get a drone, it would be just studying for the test and taking the test to be an authorized pilot to use on duty. But as far as getting a drone, if we had funding, we could contact Gentech and I could have a final quote and look to move on to ordering a drone very soon. Then it would be just deploying. We'd have to sit down with chief and lieutenants and work up our policies, procedures, our SOPs, and everything else that how we're gonna do. But I mean, we're ready to go.
Have you already looked into like grants for this, or are there any?
We're also looking into grants for that. I know Lieutenant Salinas is heading that up. There's not a lot out there.
How many would you hope to have eventually?
Drones? It would be nice to have 3 or 4 drones. 3 or 4 of each, maybe 6 total.
Wow, that'd be a lot.
Yeah, it'd be a lot. You can also look at There is a used market for these, like some of the other agencies right now are selling off their 3Ts. But again, for our first one, if we just could only have one, you're gonna want the newer technology. It's
Right.
gonna be future-proof. But if you needed another one for a backup, there is that market, but again, you're buying used equipment, and it's still very expensive. For a couple of $1,000s more, you're getting the high-end technology.
Yeah.
So somehow, if you could acquire another drone, it would be a good training tool for the new officers. Officers come and go, and more people, we can have more pilots. That's just better for us. So we could use it for training. We could use it for an extra drone to get up on station as we're bringing the other one back to charge the battery. So.
Any further comment from me? I had a couple things.
Yes, sir.
So I think the drone is a really good tool, and I was a big proponent of the building department getting one. And so we use them in ag applications. I think that they do bring a lot more safety aspects. I think the thing I want to understand is like those SOPs of how this would be used. I mean, would these be something, because I'm having a hard time between random surveillance and surveillance. So, for example, we have the Swedish festival coming up. So would the drone be a tool that would be launched at the Swedish festival to protect the town because we close the streets? Do you foresee, like, okay, we're going to launch the drone and we're going to make sure that there's no cars or
To answer your
something nefarious that we could watch, or is that fall under the random surveillance scenario?
No, because we're going to be using it. Every time we go out and do an event, we have a pre-planned ops plan, right? So we're going to work in why we're there, what we're doing, and how we're going to do that. So yes, we can incorporate the drone. I don't think that's something that we're going to just fly indefinitely. It's going to be a lot of energy on that drone to sit there and fly for a whole Swedish event. But I think if we had it stood by a lost child, somebody having a disruption, a fight, someone got drunk, whatever the case may be, you can get that drone there up above and watch before officers even get there. And by the time you get in a crowded situation, that guy's going to squirt out either direction. So the eyes in the sky is going to be able to find that suspect or a lost child. He's 3 years old wearing a red shirt. Well, we can find that, maybe even lock into it, and then guide officers in. So for a Swedish event, yes, we could. Or if we wanted to take an aerial photo, we're going to come out here and we're just going to take an aerial photo. That's going to be in our pre-planned ops plan on how we're going to use that drone. So we're not going to violate anybody's. It's a public event. It's okay. We're not going to fly it over backyards to see what you're doing on the weekend to see if you're going to commit a crime. That's not what we're doing with it.
Okay, thank you for that. Could you also use it, or would it also be used for, like, say, school function events?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
It could be for not necessarily entertainment purposes, but if they're having a carnival out there, we wanted to watch or just capture it on video, we could do both.
Okay.
And we're not violating any Fourth Amendment laws. There are other case laws that's going to govern how we use it, and it's all part in it's spelled out in my 107 pilots test. So each is a case-by-case scenario. Right now, the Sheriff's Department is deploying theirs almost every day on every call, and they're finding new ways to use these drones. So really, if you can think of a way to use it, we can use it. A traffic stop. You can fly it up on a traffic stop. If it's your normal traffic stops, you're not going to. But if it was a high risk stop, you're going to put up there traffic accidents. You're going to take scene photos with it. There's even a mapping system. Again, it's another subscription, and I don't think that's where we're at now. But you can take these drones, and it'll fly a pre-designated mapping pattern and put it all together like you see on Google Earth, and then it's going to give you a detailed to-scale drawing or map of that incident. So yes, it can be used for that. That's just another thing. Other than that, if we had an alarm call, we're definitely going to fly that up. Before we even get to there with traffic, I could have that drone overhead watching as Overwatch to see if anybody exits a building. I could now clear an inside of a building before I send an officer in, and I can hold a doorway. I can send a drone in, clear all behind this, and now it's safety to our officers.
Okay. Well, Sergeant Kroger, thank you for your presentation. Is there any further committee comment or questions?
If we do end up acquiring a drone, I would love to put on demos so you guys can feel more comfortable to see how we can use it at any time and even get you on the stick time.
Okay. So appreciate your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
And that's a possible action, but we'll proceed to agenda item 3. and that is the use of funds discussion. So I'll open that up to the committee for any use of funds for recommendations or comments, questions.
In the last meeting, up to $5,000 was allotted to the police department for various funds. I'd be curious how much of that $5,000 has been used already, so we know what they have and if the existing funds can be used towards that, knowing that we have a limited balance
I think it was the full 5,000.
that was used.
Yeah, or very close to it. Mainly the police admin's the one that made the purchase. And I think, did you see the receipts from it?
I didn't see the
Okay.
receipts, but
I know they purchased helmets that would seem to be very popular and is a great purchase.
Yeah.
nice helmets too. They were Trek helmets, and Chris worked really hard to get a deep discount so that we weren't paying, or the police department wasn't paying full price for that. But from what I heard from the SRO, Officer Jimenez, it was right to the 5,000.
Yeah, but
For
I think it was
helmets.
right to the 5,000.
Yeah, helmets, and then all kinds of safety pamphlets and supplies that could be sent home with students. Good stuff to keep kids safe. I saw a lot of it at the Reagan Safety Day.
So with that, my concern is that I think it's a fantastic project. Huge advocate of drones, anything that keeps law enforcement society safer. But we're kind of limited on what we can use now with available funds for that. So,
There's $5,000 left.
right. So we've got, a basic unit is $8,000. We've got a $3,000 shortfall. We also have, I believe, Abigail, beginning July is a due funding.
The funds do not roll over. So if you guys don't
No,
spend the
that's
5,000, but yes, you're correct.
So the thought is, if this were what we would want to do, commit the $5,000 that we currently have, and depending on the need of the police department, make the balance available effective July 1st, which is roughly 3 months away. I think that's one way to do something like that, and then still have funds left for other projects that may come up.
Any further comments, suggestions, questions?
I would like to make that as a motion to designate our remaining funds from fiscal year 2024-25 to the KPD drone project in the amount of approximately $5,000, and then revisit this project in fiscal year 25-26.
Second.
Any opposed?
Oh, sorry. Since you asked, all in favor? Any opposed?
With that, it looks like the motion passes, so congratulations.
Thank you guys very much.
So start studying, Sergeant.
So with that, we have no future agenda items. And are there any committee member reports?
I don't know if this falls under committee reports, but so a request has been given to me that they put a crosswalk in from the high school, at the high school to Tulare Avenue. There's kids are always crossing there. They don't go down to the signal because it's too far. Go down to the signal, cross, and then come back. So a lot of kids are crossing from where they drive into the, like, I guess you'd be coming out of the drive from the, where the staff sits, where it parks, and across the street. There's a whole mile there where there's no crosswalks, but there's sidewalks. So it seems to me it would be more sensible to have some crosswalks in there. If you're going to be walking on the sidewalk and you want to get to the other side, that's a busy street, that's 18th. And it's very busy, and I know some of the teachers have mentioned it to me, the ones that are out there on duty, that, I mean, the kids cross there, they help them cross, but they wish that there was a crosswalk there, not necessarily flashing lights, just a regular crosswalk.
The high school actually asked for it to be removed, and it was removed, but these guys might have a better explanation.
That was the one further up, yeah, but now they're talking about one down, it's a little further north from where the ones used to be, because that was right in the middle of the school ground, so.
They could go on the city's website and put in a request for
Okay.
that, and it will go to the traffic.
I'll tell them that, all right.
Anything further from the committee members? Reports? Okay, seeing, and hearing none, I'm going to adjourn the regular Public Safety Committee meeting at 4, what is that, 43, 42?